Hello dear students, welcome to BIC's audio learning session. In this session, we are going to learn about the chapter of cell, the unit of life. Now let's begin with the introduction of cell. Study of cell structure is called cytology. Study of cell structure, function and reproduction is called cell biology. When we look around, we see both living and non-living things. We must have wondered and asked ourselves sometimes, what is it that makes an organism living, or what is it that an inanimate thing does not have which a living thing has? The answer to this is the presence of the basic unit of life, the cell. The cell is present in all the living organisms. All organisms are composed of cells. Some are composed of a single cell and are called unicellular organisms, while others, like us, composed of many cells and are called multicellular organisms. In multicellular organisms, certain cells become specialized to perform specific function and thus division of labor is established. Many cells having a common origin and performing a similar function but specific function constitute a tissue. Say for example, muscular tissue. Several types of tissues join collectively to form an organ that carries out one or more specific function. Example, say kidney, liver, leaf, roots, etc. Many organs are interrelated to perform a specific function and thus constitute an organ system. Example, digestive system, excretory system, etc. The potential of a cell to undergo division and form a new individual is called totipotency. I repeat, the potential of a cell to undergo division and form a new individual is called totipotency. Now let's look into the aspect of what is a cell. Unicellular or acellular organisms like amoeba, yeast are capable of independent existence and performing all the essential functions of life. Anything less than a complete structure of a cell does not ensure independent living. Hence, cell is a fundamental, structural and functional basic unit of all living organisms. Now let's understand something about the discovery of cell. Robert Hooke in the year around 1665 discovered cell. He saw the cells in a cork cell and he gave the name cellulae to it. So the term cellulae was given by Robert Hooke. And Anton von Leeuwenhoek for the first time observed live cells like bacteria, protozoa, RBCs and sperms. Later, Robert Brown discovered nucleus around the year 1831 and the scientist Purkinje in the year 1839 gave the term protoplast. In fact, Robert Hooke is called father of cytology and C.P. Swanson is called father of modern cytology. So these two names you need to remember. I repeat, Robert Hooke is called father of cytology. C.P. Swanson, Swanson is the spelling. So C.P. Swanson is called father of modern cytology. The invention of the microscope and its improvement leading to the electron microscope discovery revealed all the structural details of the cell. So now let's quickly analyze about the microscope related aspects. Leeuwenhoek is called father of microscopy. Phase contrast microscope was developed by Zernike, Zernike. I repeat, Zernike. Now what is so special about the phase contrast microscope? It is the fact that it is useful for the study of a living cell without staining. Usually, when we observe the components through the microscope, we use stain for better appearance. But in case of phase contrast microscope, it is useful for study of the living cell without using any stains. So, it can be used to study the dividing cells as well. A scientist who wants to study metaphysic behavior of chromosomes in a living cell must use phase contrast microscope for better analysis and understanding. Electron microscope was invented by Knoll and Ruska. Knoll and Ruska are their spellings respectively. I repeat again, electron microscope was invented by Knoll and Ruska around the year 1932, and it was used for viewing cell structure for the first time. The physico-chemical approach to study and understand living organisms is called reductionist biology. Now let's focus to understand cell theory. In the year 1838, Schleiden, a German botanist, examined a large number of plants and observed that all plants are composed of different kinds of cells which form the tissues of the plant. At about the same time, Theodor Schwann, a British zoologist, studied different types of animal cells and reported that cells had a thin outer layer which is today known as plasma membrane. In fact, plasma membrane or the cell membrane was discovered by Schwann, but the term cell membrane was given by the scientists Nageli and Kramer, Nageli, Nageli, Cramer, Kramer. The term plasmolema was given by Plow, Plowe. Schwann also conducted many studies, and based on his studies on plant tissues, that the presence of cell wall is a unique character of plant cells was made known to the world. Schwann also discovered that animal cells lacked this particular cell wall. Now let's have a look into the theory. The theory is a combined work of all the scientists like Schleiden, Schwann, Nageli, Kramer, Virchow, etc. Virchow complete name is Rudolf Virchow. Now let's look into the postulates of the theory. All living organisms are composed of cells and their products. That's the first point. All cells arise from the pre-existing cells is the second point. In fact, this was told by Rudolf Virchow, who told that omnis cellulae e cellula. That means cells arise from pre-existing cells. The first postulate was actually proposed by Schleiden and Schwann together, but they did not explain as to how the new cells were formed. It was first explained by Rudolf Virchow that cells divided and the new cells are being formed from the pre-existing cells. And he gave the concept of law of lineage or common ancestry. Viruses are exception to cell theory as they do not have cellular organization. So that's about the introduction and the cell theory. In the next episode, let's take up the understanding regarding cell, an overview. So keep listening, keep learning, and improve your scores. All the best.